I'm assuming you're just going to cut it. Okay, cool. Okay, so my name is Danny Delaney. I'm 26 years old. Moved to DC, almost 4 years ago now. I spent a lot of time looking for properties on various websites. You look at Redfin, you look at Trulio, you look at what's the one with the Z? Zillow. Yeah. You look with Zillow, right? Once you found some place, the hard part next is really like, well, how do you actually get the next piece of it started? So we ended up actually going with one of the agents that comes with these sites that list all of the properties. Because they were the ones available. We didn't know anybody who had worked with agents before, so we couldn't get recommendations from anybody. I wanted somebody who's going to be a lot more intimately involved with me in the process, who understood that I was 26, that this was the first time that I was going to be buying a place, who understood what that meant financially to me, but also who respected what that meant, from like a 10 to 20 year perspective. You don't buy a home for 3 years, you buy a home for 10, 20, or 30 years. And you want somebody to care as much about the process as you do. That means thinking about all of the things that you are thinking about, but then also being able to take their expertise and lend a helping hand, basically. I call that out because it played out in a couple of ways for us. So the first was that I never saw the home with the agent that I was working with, and that in and of itself felt off. When you're walking through a home, you don't know what to look for. Hey, is the AC unit new? Does it matter if it's new? Hey, what does it mean if the doors are chipped or cracked? How does that affect the price of the house? How do I look for signs that the home that I'm buying has good materials in it, that it's going to last, and it's not going to fall down in 5 years? Things like that. Those are questions that I kind of started asking, and I wasn't able to get good answers for. I wanted some evidence. I wanted to feel like somebody cared, and this sort of unwillingness to meet what I thought were really reasonable bidding requests. I guess it just didn't make sense to me. And so we actually ended up kind of we drafted an offer, and my partner signed it, and I was in Paris at the time, and I got super cold feet, and I wrote him back. I said, I don't think that what we're doing is the right move. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like we have the right questions answered. We haven't figured out whether or not this is a good thing for the two of us to be doing, because we're the only ones that have so far considered it. The fact that we're bidding asking price makes no sense to me. I don't understand that at all. And I don't know whether this property is actually good because I've never seen it with the agent. And so I basically killed the deal on the spot. I called my buddy. I was like, hey, I know we've gone through all this process. I know you've put funds in an account. I know you've you're totally ready to do this. I can't do this right now. The day before I'd reached out to a friend of mine who had bought a property about a year and a half ago. She was the only one in the area that I knew who had purchased something, and she wrote me back, and she was like, hey, you should use my lender. And for the first time I was like, okay, cool. Somebody who I know bought a good place, has somebody that they trust. They're willing to put me in touch with that person. And I had set up a call with this lender before we decided to kill the first round of negotiations. It was pretty evident immediately that she was kind of in it for the right reasons, right? She was there, and she was like, okay, totally cool. You definitely shouldn't work with somebody that you don't trust. And that was the first time where I'd been like, cool, this person feels like I have a heart and a soul, and I want to, and wants to care about the property that they're buying. And they seem to be listening to me. Sometimes all you really need to do is feel heard, right? I told her what we were looking for. I told her the process that we've been going through. And she said, hey, I have this guy that I would love to recommend. He lives in the area that you're looking in. He's been there for a really long time. He knows the area. He's worked with a lot of really good people. Set up a call with him. If you don't, want to go forward with this, that's fine, but at least talk to him. She sent me Lou's phone number and told me that Lou would shoot me a text. And within 30 minutes, I'd gotten a response from Lou. This is pretty starkly in contrast to the 2 to 3 hours or days that I would wait to get a response from the other agent that I was looking to buy with. And so he said, hey, great to meet you. It sounds like you're looking in Parkview. I've lived in the area for a long time. Let's set up a call. Let's talk about it. And we set up a call that day. I got on the phone with him. I said, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's the process that I've been through so far. It's not that I don't want to buy. It's just that I don't really feel comfortable with it right now. And he said, totally get it. And then I told him that I hadn't gotten a chance to see the property with the agent. And I remember listening on the phone, and Lou was basically like, I'm sorry, can you say that again? Can you say that one more time? And I was like, well, I haven't seen the property with the agent yet. And he was like, that's insane. We went to the property together because it was still on the market. And Lou took a look at it. He ended up knowing the guy who was selling it, which I think speaks to his relationships and the time he spent in the community. He knows the people that work in the community. Lou showed me around. He talked about other properties in the area that he'd sold that were similar to this one. He talked about the positives and the negatives of the property. He talked about the developer that had built the place because he'd worked with the person before. He talked about what was happening in the neighborhood. And I think that those were the things that I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who understood the community, somebody who understood that this was an investment property for me, and understood what that meant in terms of why I would be looking at a basement property, right? This was a basement property that we were looking at. So you're looking at, concerns about how much light there's going to be, concerns about rentability, concerns about long-term value of the home. And he was able to answer all of those questions. And if there were questions that he wasn't able to answer, he was willing and able to find the response to them. I felt like Lou cared about what I was doing and what we were trying to do. And we stayed in touch and ended up moving forward with the process with him. So at the end of the whole process, we ended up paying asking price, but got a $25,000 parking spot included. We got all 3% of the closing costs covered, and the developer fixed everything that the home inspector had asked them to fix. So it ended up being a really good experience for us. I think that it's also really worth mentioning that Lou has stayed in touch with the two of us since we've purchased, which speaks to his investment to the community and speaks to his willingness to work on behalf of the people that work with him. So it's been a really positive experience, and would definitely recommend it to anybody else.